Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, everyone. So, this is the group that will be discussing the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, BOON or BANE. So, I would like to apologize for any background noises. And let's move on. So, this is my members Audrey, Cinco, Nathalie, Theresa, Gambe, Glacetene, Daba, and of course, yours truly. So first, let's discuss what is Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program. So Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, also known as 4Ps, is a conditional cash transfer program or CCT of the Philippines operated by the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Conditional in a sense that it only transfers money to people who manage to meet the certain criteria, like enrolling their children to public schools or getting them vaccinated and so on. This program aims to eradicate poverty in the Philippines by investing in health and education. Pantawid was launched in the month of February 2008. And before its launching, there were a lot of disagreements and squabbles, such as the program will only promote a culture of dependency, or the beneficiaries will just gamble up all the money and waste it on vices like cigarettes and alcohol and the likes. But many Filipino are facing more hardships than we think. Many suffer from malnutrition, hunger, and some aren't even capable of sending their children to school, for they lack a lot of resources, and many can't even earn a decent income. So data shows that poor people are interested in and responds correctly to incentives that highlight importance of investing in human capital for their children. So the program that aims to eradicate poverty or gives aid to those in need, is it beneficiary? Is it a BANE? Or will it just be a cause of another distress? Will it be a BOON? So let's find out as we discuss more with its advantages and disadvantages and so on. Yes.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Glacetene and Daba, and today I will be discussing the advantages of the 4Ps, also known as the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program. So the first one is that it provides immediate help to the poor in the form of CCTs. If you don't know what CCTs are, these are conditional cash transfers that are given out to household beneficiaries, which brings us to the topic in which there are two types of cash grants that the 4Ps has. So the first is the health grant. Every household receives 500 pesos per month, amounting to 6,000 pesos every year. The next is education grant. Every household receives 300 pesos per 10 months, amounting to 3,000 pesos every year. But the downside to this is that a household can only register up to a maximum of 3 children. So for number 2, that it is focused on helping families attain quality healthcare and education for their children. So the 4Ps offers a lot of programs dedicated to ensuring proper healthcare services and making sure that the children are able to go to school and get an education. So moving on to number 3, it expanded the range of healthcare services beneficiaries attended, including weight monitoring and receiving critical dietary supplements. So like I said earlier, the 4Ps has a lot of medical programs wherein medical missions and doctors and a lot of treatments are being given to these poor families. So the goal of 4Ps is actually to help the families that cannot afford to go to a hospital to get checked up. And that is one of the advantages that this program has. And with that, it brings us to number 4, which is the number of children that undertake deworming at schools and receive vaccines from health centers has dramatically increased. So, like I said, these programs ensure the safety and welfare of the children. So next is number 5, which is Recipients are far more likely to be enrolled in health insurance program, further increasing their chances of receiving suitable health care. So these services can really help because it educates and teaches these poor and marginalized families the benefits of health insurance in their lives. Last but not the least is one of the main objectives outlined for the 4Ps is to increase the enrollment of children in primary, secondary, and kindergarten schooling. The conditionality states that all child beneficiaries should have an 85% attendance rate so it's a really great way to track the students' progress and performance if they're really going to school and whatnot. So yeah, those were some of the advantages that the 4P has. But before looking into the disadvantages of the 4Ps, let's take a look at the data and statistics of the general impact of 4Ps into the life of its beneficiaries.
Hello, my name is Theresa Gambe, and I'll be proceeding with the disadvantages. So these were the conjectures, implications, and many claims on the disadvantages of this program. Firstly, it creates a culture of dependency and promotes mendicancy, meaning the beneficiaries become completely reliant on the alms or goods they receive that for means of survival and sustenance. Secondly, it promotes laziness and lowers work effort. This amplifies what I said a while ago about dependency because they become completely dependent on the goods that they will be receiving, the free things that they will be receiving. They have lesser value for the things that they could receive from work, which dominoes to laziness. Thirdly, it requires a huge amount of finance. Financing this kind of program, you have to think about the big population it's trying to cater to, which are those people living in and below the poverty line. Because our country doesn't really have that kind of money, we become dependent on loans. Fourth, we have corruption. Because this program deals with a lot of money, it could potentially lead to an increase in corruption. Meaning to say that the funds would not necessarily end up with the intended beneficiaries. In fact, it could be used for things like political gain. Next, we have unsustainability. Critics believe that this program is unsustainable because it doesn't really have much economic impact. It doesn't really contribute to economic growth or anything relevant to transformative economic structures. And lastly, it does not have a long-lasting effect on poverty. So it's kind of implied that it's like, let's say, Band-Aid. It can't really support these people in the long run. It can't really support people and bring them like out of poverty. Something like that. Yes. So those are practically it for points on the disadvantages.
Hi everyone, my name is Nat and today I will be discussing the conclusion of our report on the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program or 4Ps. So generally the beneficiaries or the eligible beneficiaries of the 4Ps program are those living in poor or disadvantaged or destitute households. Some of these people are homeless. Some of them are farmers, fisher folks, or indigenous communities. And the goal of this program is to provide cash grants to keep their children in school, keep their children healthy, and also to break the intergenerational cycle of poverty. So before we assess if the 4Ps program has attained their objectives, those aforementioned objectives, we're going to weigh out first what the critics and supporters of the program have been arguing. So first off, the critics have said that there's no certainty that the 4-piece program is going to be a long-term solution. And they also argue that its benefits also go to those above the poverty line, which also brings to light the issue of, the problem of corruption. Third, impact of the program on other indicators needs further study. So there are indicators such as child immunization that need further monitoring and further analysis. So the supporters have also argued that the program has had significant impact to the poor and their children. So according to the World Bank 2017 data, there are actually 1.5 million less poor Filipinos because of the 4-piece program. So it makes it an effective anti-poverty program, says the supporters. And also, data implies that there will be a likely reduction in transmission of poverty from parents to their children. So to figure out if the program is a boon or a bane, we need to ask ourselves at what point should we call something beneficial or helpful, and is our way of measuring the reduction of the transmission of poverty from parents to their children actually sufficient? So there's no denying that the 4-piece program has made a tremendous impact on the reduction of poverty, health, and education. In fact, that the World Bank states that there are 1.5 million Filipinos that are less poor because of the 4-piece program. So this also brings to light the need for policies centered on welfare and not just economic growth. And in terms of providing opportunities to the poor, such as livelihood opportunities and whatnot, the program is a boon. For the poor to have a better standard of living, for them to actually have a chance, they need to have access to those means. And these policies, such as the 4-piece program, will help them. So, but realistically speaking, we cannot rely on behavioral indicators alone, such as adults being more encouraged to work and set up their own businesses because of the 4-piece program, and also parents becoming more optimistic about their children's future, which are actual measures of the program's general impact according to the World Bank 2017 data. So it has not done an adequate job at measuring if the 4-piece program will be a long-term solution. So is this enough to reach the program's goal of reducing the intergenerational cycle of poverty? Is this enough to confirm that the 4-piece program has reached all of their objectives? No. But even with all these inadequacies, does that ultimately mean that the 4-piece program is a bane? Also no, because with proper handling, policies that fight corruption, and policies that strengthen education, in the future, there will be a solution, and the 4-piece program can potentially become a crucial step to finding that solution.